Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast in the whole wide world, the world that is crumbling all around us. And if you don't believe that, you are hiding and living in a bunker already. Congratulations to you. You're listening to Prepper Talk Radio, and if you're watching us on YouTube, which you should, we're also on Rumble, you'll see that there's only two faces on the screen right now. That is Paris and Scott. We have a MIA for Shane. He's actually on the road for a business appointment that he's on his way back from. So we could not get him today, but we want him to know how much we appreciate and love him. And all of you guys who love hearing him every day, make sure you put a comment down below. Let us know you miss him, so we can push this out, get some love to Shane.
Nice.
But today's episode is brought to you by our good friend Gold. I guess, and silver. Yeah, guys, you need to go check this out. We're going to throw this clip in here real quick, but go to itmtrading.com/prepper talk, and they will give you a free consultation to help you understand how you can use gold and silver as a hedge, how you can use it as a protection in the uncertain future of the financial world. You know, we're headed in some weird times. We're in some weird times, and it's not something to be afraid of. It's something to be proactive with.
With rising inflation, bank failures, and massive layoffs across multiple sectors, the future of the economy remains uncertain. It's no wonder the central banks have been getting prepared by stockpiling gold. At ITM Trading, we have spent over 27 years building a team of seasoned researchers and analysts who can help you prepare for any financial crisis. Our experts are ready to provide you with proven strategies to safeguard your wealth and assets in the event of an economic downturn or currency reset, which is frankly inevitable. Don't wait until it's too late. Schedule your free gold and silver strategy call by clicking on the link in the description below.
Yep, absolutely. Love that video. That was a great video.
That was a good video. And other things to be proactive about are actually your accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because accountability is like, well, after the fact, right? Well, did I do what I said I was going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, daily, we're supposed to be doing certain things as husbands, as men, as mothers, as whatever roles we have. I mean, obviously, you go to work, whether you work for yourself or you work for someone else, you have to earn a living, right? That's just the world we live in. Your paycheck is usually, or your earnings is usually a result of your ability to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
But what about your preps? What about your kids? What about all the other facets of life? What is your accountability there? And how are you actually doing what you said you were going to do? And who's measuring you, whether you did it or not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of aspects to our life that we don't have somebody, it's not necessarily obvious who we report to or who we have to hold accountability to. If you're married and in a relationship that's healthy, you should have a regular accountability meeting with your spouse, and where you're talking about some of the things that where your plans are as a couple, what your plans are individually, and then kind of what you're doing towards the attainment of those plans. But it's good. One of the most powerful lessons that I learned years ago was that the greatest, what we would call athletes, the greatest performers, all have coaches, and coaches are a great way to stay and be accountable to what the scriptures say is our stewardships. We have as men, as fathers, as women, as mothers, as sons and daughters, we have stewardships. We have responsibilities. We have things that have been placed on us to take care of, to watch over, to be the protector, to be we have a garden that it's our job to make sure the weeds aren't growing, or is an example.
Well, it synonymously, right? Goals.
Mm-hmm.
How do you measure your goals? How do you measure your stewardship, right? And your effectiveness of that stewardship, same way you do goals. And here's a quote that I love that goes along with this. It says, once you know your goals, you should measure your progress to ensure you achieve them. Seeing your favorable progress will serve as a positive reinforcement to continue your hard work, and seeing negative progress will alert you that you need to change something and go back, get you back on track. Stewardship, like the easiest one to look at is, how are your kids? Right? Am I being the good father they need? Are they being rebellious, crazy little kids or teenagers or young adults or adults? Are they holding to a code, to a way of life that they've said, this is who I am, this is how I am? Or are they confused about who they are and what they're doing?
Yep,
You know,
exactly.
as a father, that's time to help coach them in the right direction.
There's a one of the coolest things that I saw recently about being a good father to your children. Well, there's several things, and I'm going to speak to the father's perspective because I'm a dad and I'm a father and I'm a man.
You are.
But yeah, I know what a biologist, and I'm not a biologist, but I know I'm a man. So the idea is that a good father will work on himself and show a good example of of personal development. As he shows that to his children as that example, they'll know, hey, and there's a way, you don't want to be too abstract with your conversations with your kids, like just be off, personally developing, and then never kind of talk to them about what you've done. But then, of course, one of the greatest things that you can do as a father to show your children you love them is to love their mom as more than anything. Now, I know that's not necessarily possible in all situations, because there's some things that happen in life and with families and divorces and things of that nature. But if you can help it, if you can work diligently to show that love to their mom, that's one of the best stewardship responsibility return reports you can give to your kids. And that's just what I found. And that's what parents do. That's what fathers and mothers do. We are preparing the next generation of citizens. We're preparing the next generation of politicians, of actors, of businessmen, of CEOs, we're really, we don't turn that responsibility or that stewardship over to the state. Don't do that. It's as a mom and dad, it's your responsibility to do that and prepare the world for prepare your children, prepare the world by preparing your children.
Well, it goes back to that quote, hard men make good times, right? Good times make weak men make hard times. Hard times make great men. If you look at your grandparents, my grandparents, what caliber of person they were, every time someone would walk in the room, I'd see my grandpa stand up. Every time he'd meet a new person, he'd look them in the eye and he'd shake their hand with a firm grip.
That's awesome.
Right? Rules to live by. Every time they're walking down the road, he would step to the outside and make grandma step to the inside. So he was always walking along traffic.
Protection,
but also she wouldn't get splashed by cars driving by. Right? It's more than just protection. It's courtesy. It's showing love, right? And it's he just always did all that, and so I thought that's just what a guy does. That's what a man does.
Yep.
And then later I see he would have accountability talks with my dad. How are you raising your kids? And he would never put it, how are you raising my grandkids? It was always, how are you raising your kids? How are your kids doing? What are your kids struggling with? Or what are you struggling with? This is my dad's dad, probably one of the best men I've ever known in my entire life. They don't make them like that anymore. But awesome. Times are changing, and they will be making them like that again in the future. I'm trying to become more like him.
That's cool to have role models like that.
That's my accountability kind of marker, as I look at and I measure, okay, he was slow to anger. Am I slow to anger? Am I improving in slowness to anger? Because I know that's an area where I struggle. Like, I deal with a lot of ineptitudes at work, a lot of laziness. And so I'm like surrounded by that all the time. And I'm like, man, why don't people just go to work and work hard anymore? Like, it's crazy. I'll give you an example of zero accountability. Well, maybe there was a little bit there. we hired a new guy to go deliver packages, and we gave him some what we call nursery routes to start. Normal route, you're looking at about a 300 package count. He was dealing with 100 package counts, and he got through his days and he was fine. He got out of his training cycle and was about to do his first delivery day. He finished loading the van and was like, "This is too much. I can't handle this." Didn't even try. He pulled out of the warehouse, pulled around and parked it in the back parking lot, called my boss and was like, "Hey, I quit. I parked out back. Goodbye." Click.
What?
I kid you not. That's not the first time I've seen this happen.
Well, I know it's not necessarily exactly like this right now, but over the last year or two during the pandemic, for sure, or pandemic, there was a lot of people that were paid more money to stay home.
Yep.
Than there were to go to work. And I honestly still believe that it's still an issue. And that's a lack of accountability, and it's a lack of stewardship. I mean, men, people, women, we need to work is a real skill set, and it's a real ethic that that builds character and integrity and the strength to be able to handle the things that life throws at us. I mean, if we don't have a good, strong work ethic, we're going to end up like that guy who can't even load, 20 or 30. I mean, I quit. Like,
right. Well,
shoot.
And it's funny because it's like nothing worth having. Like nothing is worth having unless you work hard for it.
Right.
You don't appreciate the things that are given to you
Mm-mm.
as much as you appreciate the things that you worked for. In pretty much all cases. I don't know any other that would be to the different, but it is sad because the rising generations are getting less and less responsive to accountability. They're more and more aggressively fighting against it. I'm not saying the right words here, but like there's a disconnect.
It's a lot of entitlement.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. It's like, I deserve this. You owe this to me. There's a lot of just what I like to say is there's a lot of people that want to be forgiven, but nobody wants to repent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which means to change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Repent is to change. It is not.
Yes, do your part.
Sorry, let's keep going. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's keep going. No, it's I'm sorry. How do I change? Let's change. Help me change. I'm going to be accountable now. Which means you return and report. Like I love the 12 steps. Alcoholics Anonymous, their 12-step process is 100% accountability.
Yeah.
Get what do they call it? A mentor?
Sponsor.
A sponsor. Thank you. Get a sponsor. Right? If you're prepping and you're not doing very well, get a prepping sponsor. Get someone who knows more, who's enthusiastic about it, and have them be your sponsor. If you're trying to be a better man or woman or father or mother, get someone you look up to who's got more experience, who's gone through the hard times, and have them be your sponsor for that. Yeah. I think that's one of the best programs, right?
I mean, even if you're not alcoholic, even if you're not a traditional alcoholic or you have an addiction like that, I promise you, there's something in your life that you're addicted to. And everybody. It's something. It could be as easy as just the dopamine rush of the likes on your social media, or that you can't put your phone down. Whatever it is, there's something that you're addicted to. And the 12 steps, even there's a philosophy of them. Like maybe you don't apply them specifically or directly like the alcoholics will or would, but whatever, like the philosophy of the 12 steps is so brilliant. Like I love that accountability and that
absolutely inspired.
It teaches you the responsibility.
The weekly check-in, right? I love go to weekly meetings, go to daily meetings in the beginning, right? And keep working on it. Same thing in life. Like if your goal is to go put on 20 pounds of muscle and you never go to the gym or you never lift a weight or you never adjust your diet to make an effect on that, where's your accountability? Right? And if you want to make that big of a change, can you do it by yourself? No. You find someone who's done it and do it. One of my favorite mentors always use this line: everything in business is R&D. Everything. And I'm like, what? I got to research and develop everything. And he's like, no. Wrong R&D. Everything in business is rip off and duplicate. It is 100% legal to use uncopyrighted content, to use somebody else's process to do the same thing. So if somebody, for example, ran a 4-minute mile, you follow their training and you work hard, you might be able to run a 4-minute mile.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same rip off and duplicate. It's repeat and duplicate. Like it's just use their methods to do the same thing. And it's like life's either going to be hard or it's going to be insanely hard. And it's up to you. But here's the thing. If it's hard, there's going to be a lot of perks. If it's insanely hard, it's because you're trying to go the easy way and not do any hard work. Goes back to Theodore Roosevelt said, nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty. I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many who have led difficult lives and led them well.
Honestly, did they ever make hero stories out of people who just sat on the couch doing nothing? No, they make hero stories. What are we going to have? We make hero stories of the people that overcame significant difficulty with a good attitude.
Okay, that was a U.S. president, right? Teddy Roosevelt. What are the quotes we're going to have now? The airplane. Like those are the motivational quotes we're going to have for the next generation. That's exactly the point we're having. Like, we've got to fix people. We've got to fix ourselves. And the way to do that is through accountability. My favorite is like, you go back to Jesus Christ with his apostles and he says, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. He didn't tell them, hey, go become a fisher of men. They got the universe's most perfect sponsor. And he said, I will help you do this. I will show you how to do it. Why? Because I'm already doing it. I've perfected it. I am so good at this. Why? Because I understand my Father's plan. Because he taught me how to do this. He's the best teacher. I'm the best teacher you've got access to. And I will get you to the Father. Right? We have to do the same thing with accountability.
It's critical. We have to figure out what it is that we like. We all at the beginning of the year set goals. And one of the things that I'm not going to get into all the goals and everything, but maybe take a deep minute to reflect. How are you on those goals? It's only 5 months into the year. We're not even halfway through the year yet. You ought to be, if you've created a goal and then created a plan to the attainment of that goal, you ought to be around halfway towards that goal. Because that was what you were supposed to do this year, was to set those goals. And we talked about that, towards the beginning of the year, we talked about some of the goals that we were going to set. And so if you haven't gotten yourself halfway there, it's probably because you don't have an accountability partner. You don't have somebody that you can return a report to. You don't have somebody that you can hold yourself accountable to, because the reality is that we're lazy. We'll do more for others than we will for ourselves. And so human nature is to be lazy. And I'm right there in there with everybody else. Like I'm going to, now that I've said that, I'm going to hold myself accountable to you guys, the listeners, and say, you know what, I'm going to go reflect on the goals that I set at the beginning of the year. And I'm going to take a minute to kind of see where I am on some of the plans that I made around the attainment of those goals. And if I'm close, great. If I'm not, man, I need to revamp and re-go for it. That's one of the cool things that I really like about this podcast and working with Scott and Shane, is that we talk about a lot of stuff. And then if we don't do it, we kind of razz each other, don't we?
We do.
On phone calls.
Perfect example. How's that generator doing?
I got it now, right? So it's good. Yeah.
You know how to use it.
I've plugged it in. I need to turn it on after this last winter, but as soon as I got it, I turned it on, ran it, and learned it. And that was something that's tested it out. That's something that's cool. And we've talked about things like, I know Shane just finished building his greenhouse on his property. And that's a beautiful greenhouse. And
awesome. We actually shared a video. We'll post it in our emergency prep and self-reliance group. If you're not a member of that, go join it on Facebook, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. It's linked to Prepper Talk Radio if you find their page. But like, you can get accountability in there too. But like, we're going to post this video so you guys can see it. It's awesome. It's a beautiful greenhouse. It's a geodesic dome. He had his son help him build it. It looks fantastic, and he's
And
going to grow some tasty food in there.
at some point, I'm going to have one too. And now you guys are all going to hold me accountable. Like, Paris,
Mm-hmm.
you've been talking about that greenhouse for long enough.
Yeah.
It's time to start doing about it.
See, I got my greenhouse in the backyard. It's doing
Mhm.
great. It survived the record winter, the snowfall. Like, I am thoroughly impressed with this, and it's not it's not fancy. It's like a log, like a big giant canvas tent. Basically, it's a 12 by 20 tent
Nice.
greenhouse, and like whatever your goals are, like get to them and do them. Otherwise, it's just a pipe dream. It's a wish.
Mm-hmm. And then find somebody that you can be accountable to, whether it's in our group or whether it's, keeping comments going on our videos and our YouTube channel, or somebody like your neighbor, maybe your spouse, maybe that's where we recommend is you get a community together where you can hold each other accountable towards that end and say, if you can gather some people together and keep each other going and motivated, that's something that's really cool. I know that I have a lot of people individually that reach out to me and they're like, Paris, what about this, that, and the other? And I'll say, okay, this is where you need to start. And I get them going. And then later they're like, what about this? I'm like, well, do you remember what I told you earlier? And so it's kind of like, I hold them to task. That's part of a coach's job, is to hold people to the standard and say, look, we've talked about this already. Don't do that until you've done this, and good job, you did this. Now the next thing to do is the following. So I hold myself accountable to that, because I can't be the guy, like if I'm out teaching and talking about it, I can't be the guy that when the crap hits the fan, oh crap, I didn't put I didn't have as much food as I thought I did, or I didn't have the right gear.
Well, and it's funny because it's like you just gave me the idea. I'm like, there needs to be an accountability challenge for preppers. Like, especially you guys that are new, or you guys that have been doing this for a long time and haven't been doing what you thought you wanted to do this year, or you've set goals and haven't revisited those. Like, we need to do like an accountability group specifically. Like, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to accomplish in 30 days.
That'd be awesome. That'd be really cool. I think we could put something together like that.
We should do something. And I would love that. Like, that was one of the things as the ward and neighborhood emergency preparedness coordinator. Like, there was nobody wanting to do accountability. They're like, hey, what do I need to do? And then I'd tell them and they wouldn't do it. And I'd ask them about it. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get around to that. So I stopped helping them. Like, I can't, that's the thing about, like,
have you seen those
anything? Like, if you want to learn bad enough, the teacher will show up. But if you don't do what the teacher says, the teacher will leave.
We should get some of those. Have you seen those funny little things that are they're round and they're called tuits? So you can get around to it. I'm going to, people say, oh, I haven't done that yet. Here's your round to it. What's this? Well, you're going to get around to it, I guess.
And it's true. Like, people, without the accountability, without the follow-up, people oftentimes don't do things. There's not enough drive in most of us to stay on top of everything. But there are certain things that I'm sure for you, it's also true that it's easier for you to stay accountable to. My wife and my kids, it's easier for me to stay accountable to them as a good husband and a good father, because they're in my life every day and I see them every day.
Yep.
Right. And if I don't feed my kids, who's going to feed them? If I don't keep the roof over their head and the lights on, where are they going to be? But beyond that, what's my insurance for the future? That's what prepping is. But what's my accountability to make sure I'm doing those things?
Yeah. What's your skill sets? Like, for example, I really want to learn more about the Constitution. I took a course from Hillsdale College. My goal is to take the next course from John Birch Society. They have another free course, and to kind of just expand my knowledge on that. Because I think that if we don't understand the system that we're in and the freedoms and liberties that we have available to us, we're just going to repeat history. And that's why people fail to support the freedom and liberty, because they just get caught up in the whatever's the loudest voice of the day, and then that kind of just creates a whole movement. And now where everybody's like, yeah, let's do this, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't conflate at all with the principles of liberty this country was founded on. So we need to educate properly ourselves first. And that's part of having accountability. It was funny. I was at the SHTF event, and part of my desire today is kind of return a report on that event and how it went. But it was funny because I have these pocket constitutions that I put out on the table for the people passing by to grab one. And this guy, his little girl and his father came up and she's like, Dad, can I have one of these? And he's like, oh yeah, take one of those. And I leaned over and I said, hey, you read that thing because you're not going to learn anything about that in school, which is ridiculous because that's the one place we should learn about that.
They don't talk about the Bill of Rights. They don't talk about the Declaration. They don't they'll mention the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't drill into anything.
We're having somebody on in a couple of weeks to talk about that too, aren't we?
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. More on that.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we fail to perform when there is no measure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love how the military does things. They get a brief. They put together their plan of action. So here's the briefing. Here's what needs to happen. Here's what we have. We have to take out this target, or we have to set up this communications tower. We have to, this is what needs to be done.
Well, the mission, yeah.
Here's the mission. And then they all settle down on whose assignment's what, who's going to do what, how they're going to do it. And they go do it, and then they return and report. And if there's a mission, if it's a task, they return a report that's done. If it's a mission, they return a report, or they debrief how it went, what worked, what didn't work, what were the contingencies that they didn't plan for. Most of the time, there's not a whole lot of those, right? They always have plan A, B, C, D, E, right? And the reason it's not overkill to do that is because things can go sideways any second.
Right.
We're fortunate that what's going to go sideways at work most of the time. Ah, crap, I got more work to do. Oh, and what's going sideways at home? Oh, the fridge went out. Right?
Yeah.
It's not life and death. It's comfort.
Yeah. It's convenience or inconvenience.
Yeah. And so what's happening though is we're forgetting to take care of the life and death of our future, the life and death of our family if we don't prepare.
Yep. And preparation is a lot. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. It's not just you don't prepare for something and then you're done. You prepare all things in your life, whether it's physical, whether you're working out, keeping yourself healthy, make sure you're preparing with your diet so that you live long enough. One of the great things, my wife and I, we work out regularly. And one of the things that we just came across, this lady was like, look, I don't work out to get ripped and buff and be up on a show. I work out because when I'm 80, I want to still be able to lift up. I want to still be able to carry my grandkids. And I'm like, dang, that's cool. Because, we're living longer and longer. And so let's live longer and longer with some quality of life too, and that's going to be that. And then are we preparing financially for the future? Because there's going to come a day when we don't want to, or maybe we can't work anymore. And
did you hear about the lady that just got attacked in her own home? 80-year-old woman. She beat the crap out of the intruder and then called 911 to come save his life because she beat him so bad. 80-year-old lady.
That's awesome.
She's like, I'm strong. Maybe she's older than that. She's like, I'm strong because I power lift. I work out. I stay fit.
That's so
you don't
cool.
break in my house. And I'm like, lady, you are the best thing since sliced cheese. Like, we all need to be doing that. We all need to be improving ourselves and staying accountable to ourselves and having a higher quality of life. And to your point, prepping is a way of life. It's an anti-fragile way of life. It's a system to improve the quality of life, right? And eliminate the fragility of life.
Because life's going to throw crap at us. That's inevitable. That's like, what are the guarantees of life? Death and taxes. Well, another one is suffering and pain. Oh, yeah. And so if we can prepare to mitigate that, or at least prepare enough that we can find meaning in the suffering, as Jordan Peterson likes to say, that's the reference for him, this podcast, we can move forward with a positive mental attitude. And that's another part of prepping too, is like, how much today are we seeing so many people that just quit because they're just snowflakes. Yeah. And that's not just, physical snowflakes, but they're mental snowflakes, emotional snowflakes. I need a safe space. Are you kidding me?
It's the wise man built his house upon the rock. Right? That's hard work.
It is, yeah.
The foolish man built his house upon the sand. That's worse than a snowflake. Because sand just blows away in the wind. Sand has no textile strength. Have you ever played with sandstone?
It crumbles. Yeah.
You can just rub on it and it falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, and that's its version of a stone as sand.
Mm-hmm. That's the
So
hardest to get, so to speak.
that's as good as it gets in the world of sand. Like everyone's building this sandy foundation. They're relying on this world economy, the national economy. They're not relying on their own internal economy, right? They're not creating their own family storehouse. They're not creating their own family rules of conduct. How am I going to live? What kind of person am I going to be? And they're not creating an accountability measure to grade themselves, correct themselves, and they're not using any kind of return and report system.
Yep. It's like, Shane shares the quote all the time, look to the past to prepare for the future. And history does repeat itself on a regular basis. And back in the day, every man and woman who created a family was in charge of educating, was in charge of making sure the farm was running properly, and we may not have a farm, but you have a stewardship to maybe your farm today, as air quotes, is your job, is your career. And that's what you do to provide for your family. And so are you teaching that good work ethic to the next generation? Are you preparing for that? Because what if we're all preparing for the last episode we did, I think was all, what are you looking forward to after the crap hits the fan?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you aren't preparing now to have accountability and a stewardship, when the crap hits the fan, you're going to be you're going to be disoriented, and you're going to be in a really bad spot. And so that's nothing to look forward to. So what is your stewardship? Your stewardship is to create a place of safety for your family. Your stewardship is to be prepared for whatever life might throw at you for your family. Your stewardship and accountability is to God, of course, ultimately, but you can hold yourself in the meantime accountable to some partner, like your next door neighbor, your spouse, your community friends, like your buddies.
Yeah.
And there's, girls' night out should be, let's have a girls' night out where we talk about our goals and dreams and hold ourselves accountable. Guys' night out should be goals and dreams and hold ourselves accountable, not go get plastered and wasted and lose our morals. Like, let's have a different level of accountability and stewardship moving forward. And then if the government, and we all know when crap hits the fan, this is kind of what we're looking forward to. If the government was to go away, if school systems were to go away, if doctors were to go away, like if all this infrastructure that we have was to just all of a sudden poof, gone, would you know how to educate your kids? Would you know how to teach them reading, writing, and arithmetic? Would you know how to teach them how to be good citizens? Would you know how to teach them the law of the land? Would you know how to take care of first aid and or other issues? Would you know the herbs? We've kind of relegated. We've kind of pushed off a lot of these responsibilities that everybody used to have back in the day. And as people specialize into different things, we've created a system where we're kind of all working together. And we have a lot of faith in that system. If that system was to collapse, holy smokes, there's a lot of people that aren't prepared for that. And that's part of being prepared, is recognizing that, look, I'm going to trust the system while I know it's working. But if anything were to go down, I'll be able to step into a role. And that's huge self-reliance. That's huge. That's what I call interdependence. Interdependence is when independent individuals who can be independent work together synergistically to create a better and bigger result. But if any one person was to falter or fail, the next person could step right into that role and keep the thing going.
Yeah.
Like in the military, you used that example earlier. In any SEAL team, and this is what I understand of SEAL teams, if a guy goes down, there's somebody there that can also do his job so the rest of the team can get out or complete the mission, even if one guy goes down. Everybody knows how to do everything, but then they all specialize so that they can do their part and do their role. But if one guy or two guys go down, it doesn't obliterate the mission because the other guys step in and just take over. And that's what we need to do.
Think of anyone on a ship. Like when Spain owned the ocean, right? When their armada was the armada. Do you know how many trades each of those men had on those ships?
Oh, probably a bunch each.
They were all master carpenters. They were all wayfinders. Like they all had all the skill sets and they could do all the things. You go back even farther. Go back to like the Viking explorers. Did they just set their sail up and see where things went? They also had oars and they were paddling or oaring or rowing. They were rowing for their
Oaring.
destination. And then they'd turn around when they land and they'd pull out their sword and shield and go to battle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And how many of us are turning on our Tesla car in driver mode and letting it take us most of the way to work or whatever, and then getting out and letting our phone tell us how to do our job or what to do, or someone
Mm-hmm.
else, like, and we have zero accountability for ourselves, and we're not putting in any work to become bigger, better, stronger, faster, kinder, more dangerous, like any of those things. Like, are we?
Mm-hmm.
And so the accountability check that I want to leave with you guys tonight is, or today, as you listen to this podcast, is like, how are you measuring where you're trying to improve? What is that? And what does it look like? Have you put it down on paper? Have you put together a sponsor or a group that you're going to work with to make sure you get it done? Or are you just hoping, hopes and
Mm-hmm.
dreams?
Yep.
No hope and dream ever comes true. Just hoping and dreaming. Those big tasks, even the little things, require a lot of work, a lot of determination, a lot of dedication, a written down plan, and that return and report function of accountability.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to speak for Scott, but I like this podcast today because it reminds me of what I need to do. I'm kind of looking in the mirror with this podcast a little bit about staying and being accountable for my own stewardships. Like, what have I done? What have I let slip? What have I let kind of go? And there's an old saying that says, what goes through you sticks to you. And so I like having this philosophy of accountability stick to me. So that's why I talk about it. Honestly, I'm a total hypocrite. If you really think about it. Am I perfect at accountability? No. Am I perfect at my stewardship? No.
We
I
all
falter
are.
and I falter and fail, but you know what? I'm going to recommit, and that's the whole thing. We're all in this together to help each other, to motivate each other, and keep each other going. So,
What's great is like having our group gets me motivated to return a report. Gets me motivated to double check what I'm studying and what I'm prepping to make sure that I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
Those are some great benefits of being part of that group. So guys, if you're listening, if you haven't joined the group, if you haven't clicked that like and subscribe to our podcast, or like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or haven't joined our emergency prep and self-reliance group, do that now and jump in and help us help you and help us also to be accountable. Because the only way we're going to improve things, especially when the big collapse happens, is accountability to making it better.
And to each other. Yep.
But you can only do that if you're prepared to withstand the storm. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check out itmtrading.com/prepper talk to get your free consultation. Learn how you can use gold and silver to hedge, to prepare, and to really become strong for when that financial collapse comes. Guys, thanks for tuning in for Prepper Talk Radio. We are radio for the ready-minded. Catch you next time.
Take care, guys.